Are you all back?
Back.
Okay. It's good. So we have looked at factors for success in exporting, which includes firm's commitment, then emphasizing on the skill base for exporting, then having good marketing and information communication system, then having the ability to have production capacity, capability, product superiority, competitive pricing, then marketing research, then understanding nation's export policy. So all these are very important when it comes to be a successful exporter. Okay, let's move on from there. Let's look at some of the direct exporting methods. The first one is called agents. Agents have the financial strength. We need to check, are the agents financially strong, or the agents can collapse after some time? If the agents suddenly experience financial difficulties, then that's going to affect your business as well. So hence, you need to choose agents who are financially strong, stable, and sound or consistent. Their contacts with potential customer. Are these agents having a very good customer network? That's another thing you need to see. Customer networks, when we say agents network, I'm not referring to direct, end customer network. Agents should have network with distributors, dealers, wholesalers, retailers. That's the kind of network I'm referring to. And the nature and extent of the responsibilities to other organizations and their premises, equipment, and resources. So do the agents have their own facilities like warehouse? Do they have their own transportations? Do they have manpower, technology, networking? All these things are important. Or are they, taking it from a third party? Do they have their own sales force? So we need to do a thorough investigation of all these points, before we look into it. Then we need to look at a mutual manufacturer-agent relationship. This is very important. If there is no mutual satisfaction, it's like a husband-wife relationship. The terms and conditions laid down must be agreed by both the manufacturer and the agent in the foreign country. So that's why you shouldn't be in a hurry to appoint an agent. You should spend time looking at agents' history, their background, their success rate, their resources. Everything must be studied before choosing an agent. Then there must be a kind of mutual understanding between both the parties. This is very important. Then the agent must be motivated, otherwise no point. Then the agent must be able to provide good support to the organization, good support in the form of feedback about product and services, new market opportunities, etc., etc. Then ensure that there is sufficient advice and information transfer in both directions. So that means they have to continuously communicate with one another and support one another, the manufacturer and the agent. It's not a one-sided relationship. Please remember this. Okay. Otherwise, this is very difficult relationship. It won't work. Just like a tough marriage situation. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let's look at reasons for setting up overseas manufacturing and service operations. There are many reasons which are related to product, service, cost of transporting, tariff barriers, government regulations, markets, and so on and on. Let's very quickly look at this. Okay, in terms of product. Now, what kind of product are you planning to export? Now, if the products are highly perishable, like banana, it's a highly perishable product, right? Fruits, any other fruits, vegetables, fish, these are highly perishable in nature. So if these products are held up at the customs point, at the border, what is going to happen to your product? So that's why you have to choose products carefully if you are going for direct exporting. So choose products which are not perishing very fast, which has got a long life, shelf life. That's very important. Okay, so the shelf life is very important. Then longevity of the product is important, or having a long life is important. Then services, especially there are certain issues related to intellectual property rights. Are they having IPR? Is there any probability that your intellectual property rights like patents be stolen and somebody can copycat your product? Is very important. Think about it. Then warehousing, because many times if you're going for direct exporting, then the cost of transporting and warehousing is going to be very huge. So do you have the capability to bear this cost? This is very important. Okay. Or are you going to find a third party who will manage transporting and warehousing for you? If you're going to manage it on your own, then that means you're going to invest heavy sum in that particular country. Can you afford to do that? Then another one is tariff barriers and quotas. Many countries have tariff barrier as an entry barrier. So you need to study, are there any tariff barriers set up by governments in order to discourage too much of exporting to that country? Tariff barriers can be in the form of high customs duty, lengthy or delayed processing at the border, or very lengthy processes, or too much documentations. All these can be, tariff barriers. Or quota system. Like, initially when Japan was exporting cars to US, there was a quota. That means they cannot manufacture and sell more than, let's say, 30,000 units of car in a year in US. So this quotas ensure that it does not affect the local manufacturer. So there is always, room for local manufacturer to survive in the business. So are there any quota system prevailing in that country? You need to study. Then how is the market? Does the market favor foreign goods? Different countries have got different perceptions in markets. Some countries looked upon more favorably than other countries. For example, in olden days, Japan was favored against China when it comes to products, certain products, especially electronic products. And fashion products, especially we are looking at, the French products were favored against any other products. Automobiles, German products were engineering products, German products were favored against any other countries. So what is the perception of the local market about your product and your country? There is something called country perception, country of origin. This country of origin factor can favorably or unfavorably play an important role. So you need to understand that. How do customers for example, you want to come to Malaysia with your product, you want to export to Malaysia. How do you look at it? Or Malaysia is exporting durian to China. So Chinese favor Thailand durian, Indonesian durian, or Malaysian durian. Which one you like in terms of taste, cost, safety, and so on? You understand? So this is very, very important. Then government contact. Do you have enough contacts in the government? Contacts could be, there are, maybe ministerial level contacts, politicians level contacts, who can lobby on your behalf. There's something called lobbying. So can they lobby on your behalf to that government so that the government can pass favorable laws, rules, regulations? Is that possible? Then do you have enough mechanism to collect feedback from the market in the form of market survey, market research? Because if you don't get feedback, how do you know how the market is responding to your product and services? It's very difficult to know. So continuous feedback mechanism is important. Then what is the international culture in firm? The company, for example, a Chinese firm planning to come to Malaysia, can you align with the Malaysian customs, traditions, and values? Or a Chinese company planning to go to, let's say, African market, can you align with the African customs, culture, beliefs, value systems? Customer buying behavior is important. Then, do you have tie-ups with local manufacturers so that in case something goes wrong, do you have the support of sorry. Do you have the support of the local firms? This could be an emergency manufacturing, within the local, let's say you're coming into Malaysia. So do you have any kind of tie-ups in case of emergency? They can deliver just in time. Just in time, JIT is a technical concept you must understand. Just in time is a concept popularized in Japan, especially by Toyota. Okay, so what is this just-in-time concept, JIT? Which means you don't produce products in bulk and keep in the warehouse. So what happens if you produce products in bulk and keep in the warehouse? Many things can happen. Number one, your warehousing cost is going to go up. Then pilferage, theft, expiry dates. A lot of things can happen. The cost is going to mount. But with the help of just in time, what you do is you produce the components and keep. You don't assemble it into a finished products. You manufacture the component. As and when you get order, you start assembling the product immediately. So what happens in many of the assembly units, car assembly units, they don't produce and keep cars, you know. They have the components ready. As and when you receive an order, you start assembling on the spot, just in time. It's like you go to, let's say, one of the roadside vendor in Shanghai. You know, I'm sure there will be a lot of small restaurants in Shanghai market. You order a mee goreng, okay, or a mee, okay, or a noodles fry. What happens? The noodles is ready, it is there. The chicken is cut and kept, the vegetables are there. So what does the cook do? He will assemble, he will take some piece of chicken and fry it. He will add some chili to it. He will add some other ingredients and vegetables. And meanwhile, he's also boiling the noodles, then assemble everything and give it to you in 5 minutes time. That is just in time, which means he doesn't prepare the noodles and keep. What happens if you prepare the noodles? It will go cold. Customers like hot food prepared in front of them. So they may not come to your shop anymore. But immediately, you know, like you have boiled and kept your chicken, you have the noodles ready, you have the vegetables cut. What you do is, the moment you get the order, based on customer requirements, some customer says, I need more chili sauce, I need more soy sauce, I need more chili inside, I need more chicken, I don't want fish, I don't want prawns. There'll be different demands. So based on the requirement, you start assembling the product. This is called just-in-time concept in a very simple layman's language. So now apply this concept into manufacturing unit. What do? They keep the components ready. They will always have components ready for a minimum order quantity. For example, they will have components ready for 1,000 cars. So even if they get 1,000 car order today, they will have the components ready for assembling. So as and when they use the components, then there's a back order created for getting more and more components or parts. That's how it works. So there is always a minimum quantity that is prevailing with the manufacturer. And as and when more order comes, more components or parts are produced and then assembled according to the demand. So this is called, you know, the just-in-time concept. I hope we can read more about just-in-time. It's a very interesting concept. I'm sure even a lot of companies in China also are practicing just-in-time. Okay, so please have a look at it. The next direct exporting method is called franchising. So let's look at franchising. So there is always a franchisor and franchisee. So what is the best example of franchising and franchisee? You look at all the fast food companies, especially the multinational fast food companies, be it Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, McDonald's, or there's so many. I don't visit many of the fast food, but there are hundreds, right? Hundreds, which you must be quite familiar with. So the model that they operate is called a franchisee model. There is a franchisor-franchisee relationship. Franchisor is the company, the original company, and the franchisee is the company which runs the operation in any country. There is a master franchisor, most probably for the entire country, one franchisor. So the master franchisor communicates with the franchisor, and the franchisee communicates with the master franchisee or master franchisor, for that matter. That's how it works. Okay, which means if you want to take the franchisee ship of, let's say, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, you need to pay a certain amount of money as royalty. You need to follow their specification in terms of designing of the outlet, in terms of product specification, production specification, equipments, facilities, SOPs. Okay, all the standard operating procedures come from the franchisor. So all that you need to do is you just manufacture according to the franchisor specifications. So the know-how, the technicality comes from the franchisor. So for that, you keep paying him a royalty because you're getting the KFC or the MACD know-how. Okay, so there's a master franchisor, there's a franchisor, there's a franchisee. That's how it works. What's the benefit? Overseas expansion with a minimum investment, because it works on your goodwill. Basically, if you're very popular, there'll be a lot of people who wants to buy your franchise. Franchisees' profits tied to their effort, availability of local franchisees, knowledge. What are the limitations? Revenue may not be adequate, availability of master franchisee, because you need to pay some amount to the master franchisee also. Limited franchising opportunities overseas. There could be some kind of restrictions in terms of how many franchisees you can have in a country and so on. Then lack of control over franchisees operation. Sometimes you may set very good standards, specifications, but the franchisee does not follow it. Then it becomes an issue. It will affect your brand image. Okay, so performance, your standards may be compromised by the franchisees. There could be cultural programs because your product may not sell in a particular country because the cultural differences are very huge. And what should be the minimum physical proximity of different franchises? They got, especially thickly populated areas, they say within 1 kilometer radius, you cannot have another franchisee. In maybe semi-urban areas, they may say 5 kilometer radius, you cannot have another franchisee. Or maybe in rural areas, they may say 15 kilometer radius, you cannot have another franchisee. Depending upon the population proximity, they may set the standards for franchisee numbers in any given locality or a country. So these are some of the examples that you can look at. Okay, like general nutrition centers, more into vitamin retailing. Mrs. Fields, they sell cookies. Then Subway, I'm sure sandwiches, all of you are very familiar with Subway. Midas, automotive services. Okay, then we have others which are not there. The most popular ones will be, I would say, KFC, Burger King, McDonald's, Mary Brown's in Malaysia. I've seen quite a lot, and so on and on. There are so many, models that we can see. So there's a franchisor, there's a franchisee. The franchisee pays the fees to the franchisor or to the master franchisee. So the franchisor in return gives the trademarks, process, product, reputation, service, brand name, everything is given to the franchisee. So it's a mutual coexistence, I would say. What are the basic issues in international franchising? There are some issues, okay, like they may have unique products which may not be liked by other countries. Especially if you look at Japan always had this problem. They always had a hesitation to accept foreign products. They always preferred local products, and so nowadays a lot of things are changing, definitely. Okay, transferability to foreign locations sometimes quite difficult. And franchisee domestic success may happen, may not happen. Company like Starbucks had a tough time in countries like India to succeed because the price, Indian customers were very price conscious. They were not willing to pay such a huge sum of money for a cup of coffee. For them, coffee is coffee. They never associated it with brand name, prestige, and other matters. And then, getting foreign investors could be sometimes very difficult. So what are the advantages? In terms of product and system, yes, it's easy to get. Low cost expansion, learning opportunities. Disadvantages: shared revenues, increased complexity, quality controls. There are a lot of issues which are related to the product quality and system. The next method is management contracts. We call it as the turnkey projects. If there are any engineers in this class, I'm sure you'll understand the turnkey projects. So turnkey projects are projects which are run on a build, manage, build, operate, and transfer method. Okay, build, operate, and transfer method. That means with the help of turnkey projects, what happens is, for example, I want to start a cement manufacturing unit, but I don't know how to do it. I have the money. I don't have the technology. I don't have the manpower. I don't know how to do it. So what do? I entrust this task to a consulting company. I pay them the money. So they will set up the manufacturing plant for me. They will operate it for me for a few years so I can learn how to do things, and then they will transfer the ownership back to me. So this is called build, operate, and transfer. Okay, BOT model. So most of the turnkey projects run on the BOT model. So this is another mechanism or method that is commonly used in many projects. We can use the third method, which is called direct marketing, which is very commonly used using telephones, televisions, catalogs, invitations, etc., which I feel all of you understand. Okay. The next is licensing. So if you look here, most of these movies that you see, the Marvel comics, they became the Marvel movies, and one of the most successful movie ventures they have created with the help of all the superhero series that they have, right? So they basically license their products to market their products in different countries, be it Spider-Man or Superman or Avengers or whatever it is, Hulk or all Spider-Man, or Ant-Man, Superwoman, I don't know. So many characters they have created, and sometimes you feel so confused. So many characters come together in the movie because one super character is not enough, so you find multiple super characters coming together in Marvel international movies, which is quite interesting. Okay, I hope you enjoy those movies and play those games. Okay, so licensing is one of the commonest of method. The best example I can give you is Pepsi and Coke. They license their product. They license bottling plants to different countries. They don't produce in other countries. They have bottling plants in every country, almost every country. So what do? They license it. So the license is to bottlers. So bottlers produce the product, they market it, they distribute it in the name of Pepsi or Coke. But what you think is, yeah, it is directly coming from Pepsi and Coke. So they only supply the critical ingredients. So the secret formula, Pepsi Coke formula is not patented yet. This is one of the top most or two of the top most formulas or trade secrets even today which nobody knows, but still not patented. Because if something is patented in 18 to 19 years of time, it becomes in the public domain, which means anybody can copy. So certain products, I think like KFC, the super secret ingredient, the Pepsi's formula, Coke's formula, these are some of the products which are never patented because they are worried after those period, let's say 19 or 20 years, then it is in public domain. They no more have that leverage above the competition. So that's why they don't patent it. Okay, but they give the licensing opportunities to others to manufacture the same product. What are the benefits? Obviously appealing to small companies that lack resources. So if you don't know, or if you don't have the resources, then taking the license from the bigger company is the easiest way. You can access the market much faster, and you can penetrate global market very rapidly. So these are some of the benefits. If you look at the limitations, obviously, if you go for licensing, then you cannot choose other mode of entry. Licensee may not be committed. What happens if the licensee is not serious about the business? Then that's going to have an impact. Lack of enthusiasm on the part of licensee. Biggest danger is the risk of opportunism. What if slowly they steal your formula, change it into something, modify it, and start some other business? Opportunism. Licensee may become a future competitor. That's what I'm saying. So anything is possible. So there is a risk involved of imitation, copycatting. They can copycat your product anytime. So in order to, there's a risk that companies have to take it. Pepsi has taken it, Coke has taken it, but I don't think, though there were so many companies who imitated one, but no one was successful or as successful as Pepsi or Coke or where. So you have a licensor, you have a licensee. Licensor leases the right to use the intellectual property. Then what happens? The licensee uses the intellectual property to create product for local sale, and in return, licensee pays a royalty back to the licensor. So licensor earns revenue with less investment. That's the whole idea here. I hope you understand the sequence of operation here. So obviously, they will set some agreements of operations. They will agree on a compensation rate, agree on the rights, privileges, constraints, etc. So when they sign the agreement, everything will be listed down here: duties, responsibilities, rights, everything. So what are the issues? Issues are mostly related to compensation. Sometimes the compensation is not paid on time. Sometimes, the duration of the agreement, if it is a very short duration, many licensees may feel it is not in favor of them. Okay, or the licensor may feel it's not in their favor, and so on. These are some of the issues. If you look at the advantages, yes, in terms of advantages, financially, the very low risk. Market assessment is done by the local licensee, which is something good, and great opportunities for improvement in sales. But in terms of disadvantages, market opportunity could be limited because of the licensing agreement that you are doing. Then every time there is a chance of litigation. That means you can file a case against licensor, can file a case against licensee can file a case against licensor, and competition issues and so on. Next is outsourcing. Outsourcing is one of the most common method in today's context, which is the most easiest also. So when you outsource, what you do, it is nothing but contract manufacturing. You're giving it to a third party. You're giving it to a third party to manufacture your product. Okay, that means they will manufacture it in your name, under your brand. So you pay them money for production, that's all. So you supply raw material, you supply the specifications and so on. So big ready-made garments units, what do they do? Like Mark and Spencer, whatever, whoever it is, whichever big brands you talk about, what do? They outsource manufacturing their ready-made garments to units in Bangladesh. So there are many ready-made garment units in Bangladesh. So what do those ready-made garments units do? They stitch the product because the cloth, the material is provided by the company. So they just follow the specification by the manufacturer. So they label it. Okay, so at the end of the day, they will just label it as Mark and Spencer. So Mark and Spencer's responsibility is what? To provide the raw material, to provide the technology and know-how, and give the training to people, and then check the quality. Check the quality. So if quality is not met, it will be rejected. That means the outsourcing partner will not get the payment. So they Mark and Spencer has nothing to do with employment, labor laws, labor problems. It is the contract manufacturer's headache. So a lot of companies are doing this method because they can save money on taxation. There's no energy cost, raw materials, overheads. There's no political economic risk, quicker access to market, So this is one of the easiest of methods nowadays because there are a lot of companies specialized in manufacturing. They have the facility. All that you need to do is to tell them how much to manufacture, what to manufacture, what is the quality, what is the quantity, what's the specification. They will do it for you and they'll put your label, your brand name, give it to you. Very easy. What are the limitations? The contract manufacturer may become your competitor because they know the requirements, they have the know-how. They may do it later. Or they may even go for private labels, They can come out with their own private labels using the same quality at a lower price. So lower productivity standards, it could be an issue. Backlash from companies, home market employees regarding HR labor issues of quality, production standards. So all these, I'm sure, China is home to one of the biggest outsourcing manufacturing. Bangladesh is another one. India is another one. Indonesia is another one. Thailand is another one. A lot of countries which are home to contract manufacturing and outsourcing nowadays. It's not only in physical manufacturing. They can outsource a lot of things. Like medical transcription is an outsourced business. Okay, call centers are outsourced nowadays. So like if you go to KL in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, there are big call centers. These call centers are not run by companies, but third parties on behalf of a company. So for example, the Maxis Telecom in Malaysia, they don't need to have their own call center. They outsource this work to a third party. So they will do the calling, they will do the troubleshooting, they will contact the customer, they will do the servicing, everything on behalf of Maxis. So a customer will think that the service is coming from Maxis, but at the same time, the service is coming from an outsourced firm. So this is a very common method. I hope you're with me, guys. You can understand, I believe. If you don't understand, please tell me, okay? So this subcontracting or outsourcing, what are the qualities? Should be flexible. They should have just-in-time delivery mechanism, which we just explained earlier slide. They must be able to meet the quality standards. They must have solid financial support. They must be able to meet the company's business requirements, and they must have definitely contingency plan. What happens if employees go on strike? What happens if machinery breakdown? What happens if there is a problem with raw material? Do you have a contingency, emergency backup plan? The next method is direct investment. That's another method, direct investment. So direct investment is most riskiest of all, but have direct control. If you look at the previous chart, very risky because you're investing your money directly in another country. Anything can happen anytime. The government can take away your business. Political unrest or labor union issues. There could be a lot of issues. So what are the reasons if you want to invest in a country? Obviously, you want to go for local production. You want to defend your business. You want to move with an established customer. You can have low cost in terms of labor, raw material, transport. You can also avoid government restrictions. Maybe in your home country there's too much of restrictions, and the country that you're planning to go, there may not be any restrictions, so you feel that's the best way to move. So what are the different ways of direct investment? You can go for acquisitions and mergers. So acquisition means you're acquiring an established business, an existing business. For example, Geely wanted to come to Malaysia. So what did they do? They acquired Proton Automobiles in Malaysia. So that was the easy way to come to Malaysia. Okay, just acquire an existing business. So the production, product, goodwill, market, distribution network, customers all become yours. It's very easy. Okay. So acquisition and merger means you're merging with another company. So a classical example is, ArcelorMittal. ArcelorMittal, both are steel companies. So they merged together. They were two separate companies, Arcelor Steel and Mittal Steel. They merged together and became ArcelorMittal Steel. Okay, I'm sure there are a lot of takeovers, acquisitions, and mergers, especially from China. If you see, a lot of Chinese firms are acquiring foreign companies nowadays. A classical example I remember, Lenovo taking over the IBM's laptops operations. Okay, and I'm sure even companies like Volvo is taken over by Chinese companies. Okay, so you see a lot of acquisitions are happening nowadays. Okay, so it's very interesting to study. You can study these cases on acquisitions and mergers. A lot of cases are there which you can read. Next is greenfield operations. So greenfield operations is nothing but you are investing in constructing a new facility in a new country. That means you buy land, build a factory, bring in new equipments, hire employees, build your distribution network, start the manufacturing or operations. All these are done. This is called a greenfield operations. This requires a tremendous amount of investment. Not everybody can afford to go for a greenfield operations. Another possibility is an assembly unit. Like Toyota has an assembly plant in Thailand. So company owned or foreign owned assembly components market. Okay, or wholly owned subsidiary. Very expensive method, but it's quite easy. Like big multinational companies have their own subsidiaries in every country. For example, if you look at Unilever, so you have the Unilever India, that's a subsidiary. Pepsi India or Pepsi China for that matter, or Pepsi Malaysia for that matter. These are subsidiary companies operating in different countries. The last one is the cooperative strategies, which is called a joint venture. You can have equity joint venture or cooperative joint ventures. Obviously, equity joint venture is where you invest in equities and shares. Cooperative joint venture is your sharing in terms of the physical facilities. You're physically present. Whereas in equity joint venture, your joint venture is limited to investment only. Okay, but obviously it has got its own limitations which you can study. What are the drivers? Obviously, there are different reasons why international joint ventures are becoming quite popular. due to, you want to bridge the cultural gaps, you want to gain managerial commitment, you want to use an incremental approach, slow and steady step by step approach. Okay, you want to build and maintain strategic alignment, create a governance systems. There's so many reasons why international joint ventures may be successful. So all these criteria must be looked into. Then comes strategic alliances. Now, strategic alliances are very significant and not very common. Okay, I'll give you some examples to understand. There is something called star alliances. Star alliances is an alliance of different airlines. So once you're becoming part of the star alliance, you can share the ground crew, you can share landing space, for an airlines I'm referring to. You can share, technical crew and so on and on. So what is the types of, there are different types like licensing agreements, market-based alliance, operations, logistics alliance, operations-based alliance, and so on. Okay, so, the One World Alliance, American Airlines, if you see, One World Alliance combines American Airlines, Cathay Pacific, British Airways, Japan Airlines, Finnair, Mexicana, etc. Then we have a Star Alliance, United Airlines, Continental, Lufthansa, Air India, and so on. Then there's a Sky Team, Air France, Delta, etc. You see, different airlines. You know why? Because they want to have synergy. They want to minimize operational cost. You see, the ground crew is idle when a flight takes off. So what do they do in the next two hours or 3 hours when the flight does not return? So that's the time they said, why don't we share the facilities? Why don't we share the ground crew so that we can save a lot of cost? Okay, so the motivations, if you see, are to defend or to catch up or to remain or to restructure. This is the strategic reasons of, or strategic motives for strategic alliance. Okay, to defend. So if you are a market positioning, you are a leader, and your strategic importance, your core, then it could be a defensive strategy. I'm sure you're going to study this in your strategic management. So don't worry, who is a leader, who is a challenger, who is a follower, all these terms you'll be studying in your strategic management, okay? So you can have cross-border alliances, okay, like shared manufacturing. For example, Toyota Ioga is also marketed as Citroen and Peugeot. Research and development arrangements can be shared. You can use the same R&D facility by different competing companies, or you can use the same distribution network, like iPhone initially marketed by O2 in the United Kingdom, okay, or marketing agreements and so on. Okay, so reciprocal shareholding is also another method where you share the experience, expertise of the firm. For example, Renault took a stake in Nissan to save the company from bankruptcy and helped it to launch many models. Now, sometimes it is important to have competitors in the market. So you can support a competitor, just as Renault, did this with Nissan. They do it, maybe they have a common shared interest. That's why they help one another. There are other specialized entry models like contract manufacturing, management contracts, turnkey projects, built, BOT project. I have discussed with you all these just a few slides before, so I don't want to spend more time on this. FDI, this is one of the most favorite mechanism of entry, foreign direct investment. It's something like a greenfield project, okay, a greenfield strategy. Okay, so in FDI, when you set up everything new, it is called greenfield. When you're acquiring, it is called a brownfield strategy. Understand, huh? Understand the difference between greenfield and brownfield strategy. Okay, and then you have joint ventures. So what's the advantage? Obviously, if it is foreign direct investment, how much of money you're going to invest in that company, in that country? What is the stake? Is it 20%, 30%? If it is 30%, definitely you get the management control. If it is less than that, you may not get management control, but you may become a member of the board of directors. So there are benefits and challenges which are quite easy for you to understand. Okay. Advantages, please read through. Disadvantages, read through. Acquisitions, what are the advantages? Acquiring an existing firm. So when you acquire an existing firm, immediate revenue generation takes place because the business is ongoing. The market is there, the network is there, the customer is there, the product is there. So revenue generation is immediate. But the problem, some of the liabilities come along when you acquire. Maybe bad reputation of the company, maybe bad assets, maybe liabilities in the form of bank loans. All this come along, or inheritance problems, unresolved legal issues. All these could be disadvantages. Okay, this is one question that you need to understand because this is part of your assignment, timing of entry. Now you have seen a different entry methods. So you should be able to choose at least 4 out of these, then narrow down to one by giving your reasons and justifications why that particular one method is the most or the best method. Once you do that, the next part is choosing the timing of entry, when to enter. The timing of entries is very important or equally important as the entry method, entry strategy. What time to enter? When I say what time to enter, we need to ask questions like maybe the country is going through some economic turbulence. The GDP growth is very low. Inflation is very high. Political turbulence, political instability could be there, or there's some social unrest taking place. Like, for example, countries like Syria, Iran, Iraq, there's social unrest taking place. Inflation is shooting up. Economy is falling down. Okay. Now, globally, now we are in pandemic period. Every country is affected by pandemic, right? COVID-19. So is this the right time to enter? So are you entering with the right product? For example, for health products, this is the best time to enter. There's a huge demand for health related products. Best time to enter. But other products, there's a question mark. Should we enter now or later? So the timing, we also need to look at the festival period. Should we enter during Christmas, Ramadan, Chinese New Year? When should you enter? What timing is important? Which month, which season? Should you enter during monsoon, winter, or which month? January, February, March, when to enter? All these questions must be answered. So I hope when you write your assignment, the timing of entry, you got to spend some time because I think that has got around 10 marks. So think of your timing. So if you're planning to enter a market, you should also think of exiting the market. So the question is when to exit the market, how to enter the market, why you should exit. There are many reasons companies exit from market. For example, General Motors exited from the Indian market a few months before. They said they cannot make profit by selling cars in Indian market. Now, Indian market after China is the second biggest market in terms of population. But still, General Motors exited the market saying, they couldn't make profit. So what went wrong with their entry strategy or product strategy? We need to ask this question. I'm sure a lot of products must have exited from China also due to very reasons. So reasons could be loss, volatility in the market. Volatility means fluctuations, premature entry. That means they entered before the market is ready for the product. Okay, so are you entering into a market with 5G products where they are not ready to accept 5G, or they don't have the physical infrastructure for 5G? It could be ethical reasons, or too much of competition, or you want to reallocate your resources to another country. You know, a lot of companies exited from China in the last few years' time. They exited to Indonesia, Philippines, Taiwan, Vietnam, Thailand, and so on. What's the reason? Uh, One of the reason they say is the increasing labor cost in China. The labor cost 10 years or 20 years before was very, very attractive. It was very low. But over a period of time, the labor cost has gone up in China. So it is no more competitive for them to stay in China. So they say, let us go to Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and so on. So you see, reasons for exits are many. We need to understand those. What are the exit strategies? Risk of exit? Yes. Sometimes, there is a fixed cost to exit. When you exit, you can't just exit the market. You need to compensate. You need to compensate to different parties. You need to leave your infrastructure. Sometimes you can't sell it. Nobody is willing to buy your infrastructure, so you need to leave it. So you can have a kind of incremental exit. Slowly and steadily you exit, move piece by piece, and migrate your customers to the new product and services and so on. I'm sure you have studied this BCG matrix, so I won't touch this BCG matrix. Okay, this you must have studied in your strategic management. Have you studied BCG matrix? Hello, have you done? So if you have not done, read through and wait till you finish your strategic management class. I put up some examples of failures in global markets. You can go through the cases. The link is there for you to read, and there are some discussion questions. Okay, so that marks an end to entry strategies, foreign market entry strategies. So just to revise what we have done so far, we looked at different entry strategies today, one by one, and we also looked at the timing of entry. And what is the expectation from this class? That you should be able to choose the right entry strategy for your assignment, provide the reasons, then pick and choose one for the company that you have chosen, and you also need to say when is the timing of the entry and so on. So I hope you should be able to do justice to this particular question by attending this class. So now I'm open to questions. Do you have any questions? Hello, questions? Any questions, please? Feel free to ask me.
No question, no question.
No questions? Any question? Okay. Hi guys, any questions? Hello, Bolin.
No
Hello?
Yeah.
question.
No
Hi.
question.
Hi,
No
hi.
question.
Hi,
Yeah.
Professor.
Do you think you can manage this question of your assignment?
No.
Yes, I think I can finish the assignment.
Okay, great. That's great. So nice to hear that. Okay, so again, my humble suggestion is if you're facing difficulty, do contact me. Okay, do write to me, do WhatsApp me. I'm there to
Okay,
help
okay.
you. Please find time to talk to me.
Thank you.
And yes, because this is week 6, you only have another 3 weeks to go for submitting your assignments. So please pay attention and start working hard. I want everyone to get a very good mark for this assignment. Okay. So that can happen only if you ask me questions. If you don't know, ask me. Don't assume something. Okay. Let's be aligned in our expectations. Okay, guys, if no questions, let's say goodbye. See you next week.
Okay.
Next week.
See you next week.
Okay, bye bye.
Thank you, Professor.